and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so welcome. We're here today for Tech Foundations for New Teachers, and we'll be covering Google Tools. This is the first in our two-part series. The next session, which takes place in September, we'll talk about AI, but today we'll be focusing on sort of what tools are available to you in the Google Suite. And there are a lot. It's a little bit like take me to the grocery store and tell me what I can eat. There's so many different things and so many different ways that you can put things together to make something that works well for you and your students. But I'm going to be just honing in on a few of my favorites today. So I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Stephanie, and I work for the Santa Cruz County Office of Education as an EdTech and Innovation teacher on special assignment. In a previous life, I was a classroom teacher, so I taught third grade, I taught upper elementary, middle school, and I've been at the county office since 2020. Helping to sort of translate technology for people who are working in the classroom, to think about ways to use technology to work smarter, not harder. As a classroom teacher, I was always really excited and optimistic about the ways that bringing in tech helped to engage my students. And so I hope to share those pieces with you. Just a few bit of logistics, just to let you know that as a EdTech TOSA, my services are available to all educators in Santa Cruz County. So if you ever have a tech-related question, maybe you're looking to try something new in your classroom, or you're thinking about like, how could I rethink this thing that I've done before and use technology to help me? You can always set up an appointment with me. And the link to do that is right here. It's calendly.com/Sumarna. By default, that will set up a Zoom appointment, but we can change it. I'll come to you, I'll come to your school site. We could do a walk and talk, we can chat on the phone, whatever works. I'm happy to help. That's really the best part of my job. And also, we do have an educational technology page on our Santa Cruz COE website. It lists all of our trainings that are available to teachers in Santa Cruz County. So if you're ever curious about what's up next, you can click this link and that will take you there. It also has some resources that you can access without attending a training. So we've collected a bunch of stuff on AI, since that's been really popular lately. We also have media literacy resources. And then we share a fair amount at conferences. So we use that as a home base to link our conference sessions as well. So all of the slides are there for you. And I wanted to take just a moment to introduce my colleague, Injun. Hi, Injun.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
So good, I've been doing well. So I've been at the County Office of Education since January of 2017, almost going on 8 years. And I used to be part of the New Teacher Project, which is an induction program for new beginning teachers. And since last year, I've been the Educator Pathway Organizer, helping prospective educators, students, college students, kind of explore careers in education, as well as current teachers explore different parts of the education pathway that they might be exploring. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thanks, Injun, for joining us. And Injun is part of the reason why we're here this afternoon. She helped to organize this offering. So thank you. Okay, so I wanted to just do a quick check-in, and we can either unmute our mics or you can put it in the chat. I'm just curious on a number 1 through 4, how familiar you are with Google Tools and sort of the tools that are available to you on your Google Suite as a teacher.
Define what you mean by Google Tools.
Great question.
No, probably
okay.
one.
Thanks, Melody. So I'm going to hop over to a new tab. And over here, I'm in Chrome, right? So I am logged in Google. And when I click on my waffle, I can see the tools that are available to me through the Google Suite. So I've got my usual Gmail, Drive, Classroom, Docs. And of course, if you were to click on your waffle, it would be rearranged a little bit because it organizes based on the ones that you use the most. So when I say Google Suite, these are the tools that I'm talking about.
2.
A two. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
use
such a,
those.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a
Did not
broad
know they were called
question.
Google tools, though. That's
Yeah. It is a broad question. Yeah. Do you have, Cynthia, do you have ones that you maybe use quite frequently and ones that you are like, I
Yes.
have, yeah. Which ones are you
Right.
using most frequently?
Well, I mean, I use, can you pull it up again, just so I use
Yeah.
the same terminology that you guys. So I mean, I use Docs all the time because we do multidisciplinary reports. I do the Drive because I look for a lot of my lesson plans and things that I store in there. And of course, Gmail. Sheets are really hard for me to track, so that's hard. Classroom. I mean, they're all so different. I can't give a number because yeah,
It's all over. Okay.
yeah, it's really all over.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's lots that like we live in, right? Like Gmail, we probably check that maybe at least once a day. But sites where we're like, maybe I've created a site once and I don't know where it is, or I've never updated it, or someone shared one with me one time and that was my only experience. So today I'm going to focus really on some of my favorite ways to use Google tools as an educator. And my hope is to just first understand which ones are available for you, and then how to use them to both boost your efficiency, but also if you're working with students, how you can use them to promote engagement. And then finally, also, what are tools and resources that are available for you that you can use to boost your students' digital skills as well. So we'll be talking about first and foremost how to sort of, it's the beginning of the school year. So how do we get our digital life organized? So I'm going to share some tips and tricks around Google Drive and how to really set up a system that works for you, and what are some of the features that Google has made available to make organizing your Drive easier. And then share a couple of things related to docs and slides that you might not be using already, that are ways that you can use docs and slides with students that are fresh, build engagement, and are tried and tested. They have a lot of educators that use these strategies already that love them. And sharing, of course, template libraries, because we all love to leave with a few things that we can use right away. And then, like I said before, sharing some resources and lessons that you can use with students to build their digital literacy skills as well. All of our things for today are in the home base, which is our agenda. So I'm going to grab the link for that and put it in the chat so that you have it. And that agenda also has a link for the slides. It has what we'll be covering today. And then at the bottom on the second page, it has a couple of links that I'll be dropping into the chat, but then you have them all on this document, so you don't have to worry about trying to save things from the chat or keep your tabs open and find a place for them later. They're all there for you in that spot.
That would be a great topic also, how to save things from a chat. I honestly, I mean, I grab the link and I open it and then I just go to my Finder, but if there's something else that I'm missing, that would be great to know.
That's a great thing. Thank you, Melanie.
Well, let's start there, because I feel like there is not one easy answer for that. And that is a question that I get quite frequently when I'm giving sessions virtually, is you're sharing so many great resources in the chat. What am I like? How am I going to save all of these? So my workflow as a presenter has now been to keep them in the agenda so that participants just have to save the agenda and then they've got all the things in one place. So I'm going to show you how you would do that. So I'm going to click on the link in the chat so that it opens up the agenda. And then to save a copy in your own Drive, you would just go to File, Make a Copy, and then you can go ahead and keep a copy of this agenda and file it away wherever you would like it to go. So for me, it's suggesting I already made a folder for this training, and it's suggesting that this copy goes into that folder, which is where I would probably put it. But if I was an attendee at a session, what I do is I have a folder in my Google Drive called conference resources or session resources. Or I even saw someone the other day that said, I keep all of your trainings in a folder called tech trainings. And that made me excited that I had a folder in their drive. So they had, went ahead and made a master folder with in resources they wanted and organized them even by content areas. Great, thanks.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah, and Engine is also sharing another tip. Thank you, Engine, that you can click on the 3 dots on the top right corner, and save the chat, but you have to watch out because that's only if the host has enabled you to save the chat. So sometimes hosts will disable that feature for whatever reason.
So say that again. I'm on the 3 dots.
Yeah, so in the
Chat previews, summary,
the meeting chat itself for this Zoom meeting, I have mine popped up in a different window, and there's 3 dots in it that say more, and then mine says
Right.
save chat.
Oh yeah, and mine does not. It just
Okay.
says chat. Yeah.
Where does
Okay.
it save it to?
That's a good question. I think when you click save chat, I have set my Zoom settings so that it saves. I feel like it goes to my desktop. I don't ever do that. That's not in my workflow. Engine, do you often save chats from meetings that you attend?
Sometimes if the host doesn't provide the slides afterwards, or if I don't think that they're going to, sometimes I save the chat if folks are sharing their contact info and stuff like that, and it shares it just as a text on your like you said, on your desktop. So it's not the most view friendly medium, but and if you were the host, I would do it the way Stephanie had explained prior to, where you have an agenda with all the links and all the resources that really helps the audience and the participants of the Zoom, so that you don't have to do it this way. But it is an option.
Yeah. And I do want to just plug for a second. I'm going to take a quick bird walk because we're talking about ways to sort of collect things, which can be a challenge. Because sometimes things that people share in sessions aren't always something that you can easily save to your Google Drive. They might be sharing a website to go to, and it's hard to find a way to save that. So I really like a tool that's called Wakelet. Is anybody familiar with Wakelet? Okay, so the way that Wakelet works is it is free. I don't pay for it. It's a digital collection tool. So it allows you to create sort of different collections. So for example, in my role as an EdTech coach, I have a network of other people that I connect with that are EdTech coaches, and some of them, I really like their websites. And I wanted to save them somewhere so that when I was working on my own website, I would be able to go back and look at them. And so here is my EdTech coach site's Wakelet collection. And you can very quickly and easily just add things to a collection. And then it saves in one spot. You can see you can add a little note, you can add a picture, you can just paste in a web address. You can upload a PDF. If it gives you a default image based on what you added, but if you don't like that, you could always go back in and edit the image or edit the description. It's not as easy as pressing the 3 dots on the chat to like just save everything. But if you're working on collecting things that you think you might refer back to often, I recommend Wakelet as a good tool to do that. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit first about Google Drive organization, because I know that that's something that is important because our Google Drive, just like our file cabinet is in our physical space, our Google Drive is our virtual file cabinet. And it's helpful to keep that organized so that you know where to find all the things that you're looking for. And there are some tips and tricks that can make organizing that space a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to Google Drive. Google has been really good about providing multiple ways to get to the same thing. So my workflow for getting to Google Drive is that I type in Drive into the URL bar at the top of my Chrome browser, but you might get there differently. You might go to your waffle and click to Drive. All roads lead to the same place. It really just depends on what works best for you. So here I am in my Drive, and you can see that in this main space, it has all of my folders where I've filed things away. And then at the back, underneath of my folders, we have my orphan files that haven't been filed yet. But I would like to show you one of my better organized drives, which is the one that my working space that I share with my supervisor. So we have a shared drive, and the reason that we created a shared drive is that we work together often on projects, and it was becoming really cumbersome for us to have to remember to share all of the files every time. We were noticing like, oh, whoops, I don't have access to that. I don't have access to that. So we started working out of a shared drive because we worked together on so many things so that we wouldn't have to worry about that problem. He would always be able to access the work on our projects that I had completed, so that we wouldn't have to worry about sharing settings. And of course, because it's the one that I share with my boss, it's a little more organized than my own personal drive. So you can see that by default, Google is going to organize your folders and your files in alpha order. So it's going to organize them. If you stick with the defaults, it'll stick with A to Z order, but there's some other ways that you can rearrange your layout. I am very much of a grid person. I like a grid because I can quickly and easily see the files and the folders that I have, but you can change your view if you want to. So this is a hack that helps some people. You can change to list layout. And the reason why that's helpful is you can now quickly see that enabled me to see more of the file name. So that can be really helpful. And I can also see when things were last modified. I can see the file size. So just like there's more than one path to the same place, there's different ways that may or may not work better for you. I prefer grid view, and list view gives me the heebie-jeebies, so I'm going to switch back to grid view, but that I won't judge you if you're a list view person. Okay, some other things to notice that are helpful in organizing is that you can actually add colors to your folders. So when I was a classroom teacher, I really liked to use one color I was an elementary teacher for most of my time in the classroom. I like to use one color for each of my subjects. And that just helped me mentally, like from far away, if I saw stray paper on the ground and it was blue, I was like, that goes in the math folder. Like I could just quickly and easily put things where they belonged. And so you can actually color code your folders in Google Drive, which can be helpful for that same reason. One thing to note is that color coding is really interesting. It is unique to the user. So in this shared space, I can color code all I want, but my boss, if he hasn't set any color codes, it will just be gray. He won't see the color codes that I've made. There can be some pros and cons to that. You can't say, look, I've organized everything so beautifully by color. You'll be able to find everything so easily, because your shared drive partner will open it and have no idea what you're talking about, but also it won't impact them. So that can be a plus. The way that you can add colors is by clicking on the 3 dots next to a folder in Drive. And then Google's put all of their organizational features under one nice spot, which is the Organize tab. So here's where I could quickly change the color of the folder if I wanted to. So now I've changed it to orange. But notice that there's some other things that I can do in that Organize option as well. I can move something. So if there's a folder or a file that I would like to rearrange into a different place, I can do that under the Organize tab. I can also add it to the starred space. Does anybody take advantage of the starred space in Google Drive? No, let me show you. I don't use it as much as I could, but there are some people that really like it. So one of the best use cases, I think, for the starred space is we do have some people, especially at our work, that share drives, and maybe someone before them organized the drive in a way that doesn't make sense to them. And so it's hard for them to navigate or find things quickly. Or if you've got maybe this one file, but it's buried under a myriad of folders and you need to use that file every day, it can just be slightly annoying to have to keep clicking through every day to get to that one file. So that's where the starred place can be really helpful. So if I were to say, for example, this project is actually really important, I'm going to say, you know what, I want this to be just quickly and easily accessible. I don't want to have to go through so many clicks to get this every day. In the Organize tab, I'm going to go ahead and click Add to Starred. And then notice that there's all these other workspaces that are available for you in Drive. So we had My Drive, that's where it goes to by default. Right now I'm in a shared drive, but I also have Recent, I have Shared With Me, Starred. So if I go ahead and click on Starred, you'll see that now that ShiftEd folder that I starred is put in there. Of course, one of the things that always comes up is that starred is great to an extent, but once you've got too many things that are starred, then it sort of starts to lose its effectiveness. So there's a couple of ways that you can get around that. One of those is if you've ever put something in starred and maybe you're not using it as much anymore, you can go back to Organize and you can go ahead and remove it from starred so that you can help to keep your starred space sort of clean and organized. And then another thing that Google just introduced quasi recently is this idea of workspaces. So say, for example, you have a series of different projects that you work on that have files that you know you need to access all the time. My old workflow for that would be I would just keep those tabs open in a window and I would minimize that window and then I would pop that window back up when I needed all those tabs open. But you can use workspaces in a similar way. So workspaces is basically a few different starred spaces where you can add files to. So say, for example, I was working on a grant. I could create a workspace called Grant, and then all of the files that I needed just for that grant project, I could put right there. And now it's just a little bit easier because I can click workspaces and have that space available for me.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Now when you start moving files around like this, because this is what I do a lot, and then I lose
Yeah.
them. And then it's like, you know, and I go to the search engine and I'm like, I know I made a file.
Yeah.
Does it take it away from where it is or just duplicate? It just makes a copy and puts it in that workspace?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a copy is not quite the right terminology. I like to think of it as like an extra breadcrumb. Like it's like we were talking about those multiple paths, right? It's just created another path that goes to the same place. I think one of the things that was challenging when we were transitioning from maybe our Microsoft Word or our other sort of computer-based programs and we moved to the cloud-based programs was understanding that one of the huge benefits of those was we could have one working document and we could make the updates and we didn't have to worry about looking back to see like, is this the most updated version, right? So in the Google Workspace, we try as much as possible to avoid making new copies of things so that we don't get that confusion of like, uh-oh, am I working in the one that Melanie updated or is this like 3 versions ago? So the workspaces in the start is not making a new copy, it's just creating a new path to the same original document. Does that help to answer? Okay. And while I'm speaking of new paths, there's another way that you can make a new path that is really helpful, especially when you're dealing with one of the scariest places in your Google Drive, which is the Shared With Me. Here's why Shared With Me is absolutely terrifying, because you cannot move or organize these things away. They just are the way that they are. And also, it's everything that's shared with you. So it's everybody else's organizational system except for your own, their naming conventions, their whatever. So this is a terrifying place in Google Drive, in my opinion. I try to avoid it at all costs. And the way that I stay away from shared with me is I create shortcuts. So shortcuts are that exact thing that we were talking about. A different path, but to the same place. What's super cool about shortcuts is that you can create as many shortcuts as you want to the same file, and you can actually rename the shortcut and it doesn't rename the original. So if you have someone that you're working with that maybe tends to name things in ways that you're like, I can just never find that thing because it's not named what I thought it should be named, you can make a shortcut to your drive and you can rename the shortcut and you don't have to worry about messing up the original one. So I'm going to model, yeah, I love shortcuts too. So I'm going to model how to create a shortcut. Okay, so here I have this folder. This is a great example of using a folder to collect resources. This was a folder that was shared with me where a group of teachers, we had all gone to a conference and we created one shared folder where we could all dump the resources that we'd collected in. So I think I have a conferences folder. I'm going to go ahead and click again that more actions button. We're living in organize right now. And instead of moving it, which would actually move the original file, which I can't do anyway since it's not mine, I'm going to go ahead and add a shortcut. And notice Google's doing the thing that Google likes to do, which is try to guess where you want to put something. I would say it's not always correct. So that sometimes throws people for a loop because it's like, wait, where's all my other folders? It's just trying to be helpful. Ignore and go to all locations. And that's what the navigation that you're used to from your drive. So here you can see you can access my drive, your shared drives. You could access your computer or shared with me. I'm going to go ahead and put this Spring Q folder in my shared drive that I was showing you earlier. And that's my EdTech and distance learning. Notice if I found the spot I want to put it and I don't want to go any deeper into my files, I can click add and it will go right in. But if I'm like, oh no, I have a particular folder I want to add this shortcut into, I can keep clicking those arrows to get further into that space. So now here I am. Oh, good. I didn't misspeak. I do have a folder on conferences. Hooray. I'm going to go ahead and click add. And now it's added a shortcut. It's checking for me to make sure that the people who have access to that folder can access this file. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give them access and add the shortcut. And then if I were to go back into that place, my EdTech and distance learning and my conferences, now I can see that that shortcut is there. So I have a new path to that folder that's in my drive. I can tell it's a shortcut and not the actual folder because it has this little circular button with the arrow, the shortcut button. Before we hop out of Drive, there's something else that's in the name of this folder that is something that I like to use, which is I am a visual person, so color labels help me a lot, as well as emojis. I like to add emojis into my file labels for a couple of reasons. You'll notice that the ones that have emojis sort of supersede that alpha order. So I tend to add them to the ones that are important, that I use a lot, so that it bumps them up into the top of the list. Another hack or another workaround for that is also that numbers go in front of the alpha order. So if you have something that you want to be first in your list of folders, you could put a 0 or a 1 in front of it. A lot of times, again, elementary teacher brain, my subjects were in a particular order based on the order of the day that I taught things in, which didn't always match with the alpha order. And so I would usually put number 1, math, number 2, English language arts, so that the folders were in order that made sense for my brain. But one of the tools that I love that's is a Google extension called Emoji Keyboard. So it lives right up here in Google Chrome. These are all of my extensions that I like to use often. I have more that hide in the puzzle piece. So when you add a Chrome extension, it's basically an add-on that you get to Chrome that does fun, cool things. When you add them, they live behind the puzzle piece unless you pin them. Then they go up onto your bookmarks bar. And so here I have Emoji Keyboard. And when I click on this little rainbow heart, then I can access quickly and easily emojis. I can search for the one that I want, or I can go by category. If the star is what I want, I just click copy. And then I have been noticing that this one needs an emoji because I've been using it a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on those 3 dots, rename. I had grabbed that star emoji, so now I'm going to paste it in and click OK. And then that just adds a little something that helps me to sort of visually track which folder I'm looking for. Before we hop out of Google Drive, are there any more specific questions related to Google Drive or organizing or moving things around?
No, I just want to try a few things. So I'm going to try a few things before we move on.
Yeah, well, that's such a great segue. What a great reminder that I think it is really important to try things, or they tend to evaporate out of our brain. So let's go ahead and take maybe about 6 minutes to try something, get into your drive, see if you can add a color or an emoji or move something
Yeah,
around.
can you say it again where the emoji, so it's going to live behind the puzzle piece until I move it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Show me again on yours.
Okay, did you add it to Chrome already?
No. So
Okay, so let me show you that. So I'm going to type into Google Emoji Keyboard. And let me add Chrome extension. It is also a website that you can go to. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. And that will take you to the Chrome Web Store. My blue button says remove from Chrome because I've already added it. But when you go there, your blue button will say add to Chrome or install. Follow the steps. It'll ask you a couple of questions probably. And then it will unfortunately hide behind the puzzle piece of extensions until you click the pin next to it to pin it up to your toolbar up there, and then you will have it. And let me know if you
got
get
it. Thank you.
Okay, great. I was gonna say, let me know if you get stuck and we should stop.
Yeah, now I'm just going to try to do an emoji on one of my folders because that I'm so visually based. That is super helpful for me.
It's so helpful. Yeah. Okay, I'm
Got
gonna
it too. And I love the
Awesome.
idea that it supersedes the A to Z order.
I know that makes it really helpful. You have to be careful of overuse, which I know I'm definitely guilty of, but if you can narrow it down to a few, it helps. Okay, I'm
I
gonna
want to
stop
use the
sharing.
mad one somewhere.
I know. Probably not the shared drive with your boss, with your in
Yeah.
your own drive. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing just for a moment while we take work time, and feel free to, if you feel more comfortable, to turn off your camera or your mic while we work, and we'll come back in 3 minutes.
Oh, Stephanie, that's super helpful. Like already, because it automatically puts it, at the top. That's great. Yeah.
Okay, yay. I know it's the little things that make a
It
big
is.
difference. It's like, oh, one less thing I have to search for in the morning when I'm
Totally,
looking for
yeah.
my folder.
Especially because, I'm sure all of us, we have so many windows open. I mean, on a normal given day, I have to have 4 to 5 windows open.
Yep.
like, throughout the day. I mean, at least 5, right? So that's you're toggling back and forth between those just every day, right?
Yeah. Oh, great, Sam. I'm glad that worked for you too. Sam just put in the chat, added the emoji keyboard. Great tool.
Stephanie, can I ask you, how did you get the images to be assigned to the folder when you did a grid?
Yeah. Did you mean the shared drive?
No, when you showed us your grid of your folders, it seemed like each folder had like a tagged feature image. Am I not seeing that correctly on your?
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen again, 1 sec.
Okay.
I think what you saw was this, which is my shared drives. Was it this or was it?
Oh, is it just on your shared drive, not on the other grid?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
know,
then,
I
okay,
wish.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
But I did get really excited because I figured out how you could customize the image for your shared drive and I made it our anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yes, there are images for your shared drives. It will automatically assign your drive one, but you can go in and customize it if that
Got
sort
it.
of thing makes you happy.
Got it. Thank you. I thought it was
Yeah.
for your own drive. I'm like, yay.
I know. No,
Okay.
unfortunately, that would be a really cool thing for them to add though.
Yeah. Talk to Google.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Something you've said, Stephanie, that's been super helpful is that there are many paths to one folder, because that's where I get frustrated. I feel like I can't remember how I did it last time, and then I just do it and I figure out another way, And so that has been super enlightening for me.
Oh,
Thank
good. I'm so glad because I feel like there's a misconception sometimes that oh, the presenter's doing it a way that's different than the way that I get there. Have I been doing it wrong?
Yeah.
No, Google
Mhm.
has intentionally created multiple ways so that you can find the one that works for you. Yeah. Was that enough time to add or try something new or okay, great. All right, I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen and I'm just gonna gush for just a second. That if you were looking to find one person to learn more about Google from, I would recommend Eric Kurtz. He has a website called Control Alt Achieve, and he must not sleep because he's a teacher, he's a technology integration specialist. He speaks at conferences all over, and his resources are so clear and easy to follow. And if I know that 90 minutes is not enough to cover all things Google. So if you're like, I need more, I recommend that you go back to Eric Kurtz. I linked for you his G Suite for Education overview. So that's his set of slides that sort of explain what each of the Google tools are and provides more resources for how to use them. But we're not done. I want to show you another one of my favorite things, which is taking Google Docs and transforming them into HyperDocs. So this can be great for classroom teachers. It can be great for those that support students. It's also good for us as adults. I feel like I've taken a lot of the ideas behind HyperDocs and use them in trainings and sessions that I do with colleagues, which includes making sure that the links are in the agenda so that people can just save one thing and that everything's in one space.
Can I just ask you a definition question? Is a hyperdoc just like a hyperlink that's clickable and it goes
Yeah.
with that doc?
Yeah, it's like I paid you to transition into the next piece. Okay, so the best way that I can describe a hyperdoc is, does anybody remember the beauty and the joy of making a mixtape or receiving a mixtape? How much, right? How much energy did we spend not only like trying to capture and record the song from the radio, but also like putting the songs in the right order, right? The best mixtape had like a flow to it. Everything had a right balance. So I like to think of a HyperDoc as a mixtape for your students. So it's a way to make all of the pieces that you want your students to experience during a lesson sequence together in one place, in one home base. And it has exactly what you described. It has just links that take your students to other places. So HyperDocs are, they have a weird or funny name, but they are basically just that. They're anything that's a digital document. It can be a Google Doc, but it could also be a Google slide that has links or resources that take you to other places. They were created by a female called Lisa Highfill, and she loves to give back to teachers. So in just a moment, I'll show you the template gallery that she's sort of crowdsourced that has like a bajillion and one ready to go HyperDocs for all different grade levels and subjects. But I want to start by just hopping into an example HyperDoc and explaining a little bit about how they work. So this is a HyperDoc on proportional reasoning. And you can see that Lisa Highfill herself has created this one. So that's super exciting. And this takes us to the HyperDocs site. And then the way that it works is that they always have a button for making a copy. So that's a super cool hack in and of itself, is creating a force copy link for a Google document. So if you have anything that you've created that you want to share with people, and you want them to use it basically as a template, but to not mess with your own stuff, or to not keep asking you for edit access when you're like, no, I want you to make your own copy. Don't use mine. That's the technology that they're using behind the Make a Copy. And I want to show you quickly just how easy that is, because I think that that was one of my like most favorite tricks when I learned how to do that. And another one of my most favorite tricks is one that I'm using right now, which is, did you know that when you open a new tab in Chrome, you can type in docs.new, sheets.new, slides.new, and it will instantly create that new thing for you. So you don't have to go to your Drive, create, select Google Doc. You can just quickly type in docs.new, and now I've got a new doc. Just a word to the wise, we were talking about keeping your digital space clean and organized. Make sure you file it away when you're done, or you will end up with a bunch of orphans like I do at the bottom of my Google Drive. Okay. Yeah, I know, Sam, it's super helpful. So by default, when I've created a new doc, it is private. It's shared only with me. Nobody else can see or do anything with this. If I tried to share it at a session, people would get that dreaded, you don't have access alert. And then I'd get a million emails that say, everyone's trying to get this. The way that I can see that quickly and easily is that it has that little lock icon next to the share. So I know, whoops, I haven't made that public. If I go ahead and click on that, oh yeah, I need to name it first. And name my doc. Now I can change who has ownership. I'm going to go ahead and make anyone with the link. And then I'm going to click done. Now that I've done this, I'm going to type in, hey, this is a sample. The way that you can make a force copy is by changing the URL, the web address at the top. So if I go all the way to the right, it'll say edit. If I change that word edit to the word copy and click enter, it's going to do its magic and turn it into a template. So now anytime I share this new copy link, like I put it for you in the chat, and notice the last word is copy. If you were to click on that, you would get the same message that would prompt you to make your own copy of that thing. So if you're ever working on something and you're like, how do I make copies for everyone without having to manually make copies, or I don't want people to mess things up, you can use that quick hack. So they're using that technology behind this HyperDoc template. Okay, but let's go back to HyperDocs. So I am going to go ahead and click make a copy. And now I've got my own copy of Lisa Highfield's beautiful HyperDoc. So you can see that at the top, as a teacher, I already know she has some really good components of a lesson plan built in here. She's got some ways to hook her students, right, at the beginning. So she has some wonderings. She has something that you could play, a way that you could review proportional reasoning, and then she has some examples for ways that you can practice. So what's great is HyperDocs allow you to, again, put it's your whole mixtape, your whole lesson, right? It has all of the pieces of your lesson in one place for your students to access. And then what that enables you to do is if you are to assign these to your students, you can put them and have them working in small groups. You could have them working through the HyperDoc independently. And now they're able to go through the lesson in a more self-paced way. And that frees you up to sort of walk around the classroom and help the students that need help without you needing to stand up at the front and deliver all of your instruction and sort of guide the students' whole group. So it can be really powerful as a way to support your students. And then, of course, what I also love about HyperDocs is that the templates are built in with best educational practice in mind. So we have really clear steps. Also notice that Lisa, in this particular example, is giving lots of choice. So for the word problem that students need to solve, they get to choose one of 4, right? For how they're going to solve it, it looks like her students are familiar with a tool called EduCreations or Google Slides or Flipgrid, right? So then she also has links to where you can turn in your response. So let's see if I click on that. It looks like it takes you to a self-graded quiz that your students could take and then receive feedback on right away. So a HyperDoc is a fancy way to take all of your lessons and package them to all of the parts of your lesson and package them together in one place. I use them a lot in my 3rd grade classroom, and it did take some training to start to get my students more comfortable with that flow of being a little bit more self-directed. But once they understood how HyperDoc worked and where to click and how to turn things in, then it really was magical because it enabled my students to be a little bit more independent.
How is that different than just like Google Classroom? Because doesn't Google Classroom have a lot of that?
You're right. Yeah, it's same but different. So I think a really great use of a HyperDoc is to use Google Classroom to assign it, right? You wouldn't need to make the forced copy because Google Classroom takes care of that for you. When you assign something in Google Classroom, you can say, I want it to copy for each person. But it provides a little bit more instruction than I think typically in Google Classroom, like you're like, do this worksheet or like do this activity and then complete this. This allows you to sort of have each of your lessons in one place, and you can provide an opportunity to give more instruction or clarification for your students. But you're right, they work in very similar ways where it's providing a digital space for you to collect all the things for your students.
So, sorry, one more organizational question. So then like if I started using this, then this would be like I'd organize it in a folder in Google Drive, just like I do any of my other folders, except this would be, maybe labeled hyperlinks or what'd you call it?
HyperDoc,
yeah,
yeah.
HyperDoc.
Yeah, the way I used it in my classroom was actually in combination with Google Classroom. So we would have, if we had a unit on, say, the watershed, we would have like our introduction HyperDoc and our end of unit project HyperDoc. And so those would be in Google Classroom, but then also in my Google Drive I was very much of like a subject organizer. So if I had my folder on the watershed, then my hyperdocs for the watershed would go into that folder. Does anyone have any other questions that are coming up around hyperdocs? Melanie, do you see a way, I know this is a little bit different for you, but do you see a way that maybe you might be able to use these?
When I'm doing presentations, I'm thinking,
Yeah,
teacher presentations, that's what I'm kind of pondering. But also like within the presentation itself, doing the interactive part, we could definitely do something like this. Yeah.
yeah. I've seen some presenters that instead of having a separate hyperdoc, they make parts of their slides like a hyperdoc, where
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I want you to learn more about universal design for learning. On
Mhm.
this next slide, here are 3 different options of videos that are all under 3 minutes. I want you to pick one and then we'll come back together. So you
Yeah.
can even like just take that idea of like, oh, cool. I like offering choice
Mhm.
for the task that we're working on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a basic question, Stephanie.
Go for it.
How again did you get to the hyperdocs?
Yeah. Okay. Let me model
Because I'm
that
going to go
again.
back and go, I want to do that really cool thing.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, no, and I can't find it.
Okay. Again, you are like, I'm so glad we're on the same page for exactly what to share. So I just found one that I really liked and I linked that one directly, but there is a whole bunch of templates, like so many templates. So Lisa Highfill, if you've heard of, you know, Teachers Pay Teachers, she named her site Teachers Give Teachers. So here's the link to her digital lesson plans. And this was the one that I was talking about. It's a little bit overwhelming because there's so many, but it's a crowdsourced collection of all different hyperdocs. You can search by subject, you can search by grade level, you can search by focus area. You'll see, Melanie, I love this, that there's even a section on professional development. So people have already sort of designed some hyperdocs that are examples of how you could use them for PD. But speaking of pausing to give you all time to explore something new, I feel like this is a great chance to just take a moment and maybe take 5 to 6 minutes for you to explore that gallery and see if there's 1 or 2 that maybe stands out at you, or that is like, oh, great, I needed to teach, I can't even say this word, Mendelian genetics tomorrow. How lucky is that there's already a hyperdoc for that? So if there aren't any other questions, I'll give you some time to explore. If there are, don't worry, I'm here. Feel free to let us know what your question is.
Okay, another question. So I'm on it and do I need to sign up to access it? Because I
Oh, good
can't see,
question.
yeah, I can't seem to, like, it won't let me open anything.
Okay, I was noticing yesterday when I was getting ready that it was looking a little bit different than it had in the past. So you used to not have to sign up. And I found this link and it looked like you could access it, but you're right, you might need to sign up
Oh.
just to get the free templates, but I don't think you have to pay
Actually,
anything.
it's now, it might have been a glitch because now it seems like I'm able to
Okay.
indicate some things.
Okay. I was so excited because I was like, oh, I think I worked around and found the direct link so they don't have to sign in. But yeah.
I also just clicked on a spelling one just to get an idea, and there was actually a video teaching you how to use it within
Oh,
within the
cool.
doc. Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, there there are just so many. It's kind of unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. All right. Made my copy. That's
Oh,
great.
hooray.
Yes, thank you.
Which one did you find?
I just used some of the filters. So I did like link, since I'm a speech pathologist, I don't really set up, I have very intimate small groups, and it's more kind of like what Melanie was saying, like I want to use it to like teach. So it's like visually stimulating for the students, and I can click on things,
Yeah,
because it's my computer, not theirs. So anyhow, I did a couple filters. I did language arts, 6th grade, hyperlink, and then I made a copy, and it's got a ton of them in there.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll play around with that. I mean, I think it'll take a little while to build, won't it?
Yeah. Um, you can start from scratch. So if you search, just do a Google search for HyperDoc templates. You can also get ones that are just the template with no content filled in. But when I got started, I found it helpful to look at ones that were already made just to get an idea of what other people were putting in there before I felt like comfortable starting from scratch. Are you ready for the next thing, or do you need more time to play? Yeah? Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so the last sort of my favorite things that I wanted to share with you is this thing that's called EduProtocols. And I always want to call it a lesson template, but it's not really. I think it's technically a lesson protocol, but it's again sort of a grassroots effort that was started by classroom teachers that noticed that one of the hardest things for students was just constantly having to learn a new routine. And that if you could teach them routines that worked, then you could put any content into the same routine and your students would be much more successful. And these teachers happen to also be tech savvy. They were stoked on how tech sort of promoted engagement among their students. So all the EduProtocols sort of lean in on tech a little bit. There are some unplugged ones, but most utilize some form of tech, specifically Google Slides. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite examples of an EduProtocol because it is like so silly easy that it can be used for any content area. I use it in a lot with adults. And one of the things that I love about it is that it gets people talking. So contrary to what you might think, that technology can sometimes tend to put people in silos and have them like plugged into their screens more than each other, I found that this particular lesson protocol helps to get shy students talking because it's set up right from the beginning that we're all going to do this thing and then we're each going to share for 30 seconds, but you're going to have your thing there to support you. And then it helps to get into set up a community where we're comfortable sharing and talking about things together. So another part about EduProtocols that I love is that the makers really recommend starting with things that are low stakes, that are fun. So something where students are not going to feel uncomfortable or like, oh gosh, I don't know this, like I don't know how to answer that question. Get them used to the routine that way. And then you can start plugging in your content, your sort of academic content. So Thin Slides works like this. The link that's in the slides today takes you to the EduProtocols website where they've made a Thin Slide template available for free, but you really don't need the template. It's basically just a blank Google slideshow. And the way that it works is that you, if you want to, you can go ahead and download the Google Slides template. And we're actually going to do one together right now to show how quick and easy it is. If you are working with students, Cynthia, you're going to want to talk to them about digital citizenship and how we don't delete anybody else's work when we're all working together on the same Google slide. And if all else fails, you can scare them with revision history and tell them that you can go back and you can see who made the changes. And you might only need that the first 2 or 3 times, and then they'll probably get it down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use this template. And Thin Slides, the template from the website gives you all of your teacher directions that you need, including remember to delete these directions from the slides. But it's basically a slideshow that's meant to be created by students in 3 minutes or less. And then your whole class will share in 5 minutes total. So like whatever that takes, if that's like each person's going to share for 30 seconds, you just set it super low stakes so that you're getting students to practice sharing, right? And talking out loud in front of each other. And you just give them a prompt. This is again, sharing that, giving you that same reminder that like, you're going to need to emphasize good manners, because for Thin Slides to work, you're going to set the sharing settings of the Google slideshow to anyone with the link can edit. So we're all going to work together on the same slideshow. And what you do as a teacher is you pick a prompt. So it could be, again, we might want to start with something low stakes, like what's your favorite food? Or what are you looking forward to about this weekend? And then the task for students is they need to claim a slide by adding their name. So they're going to add a little text box here to add their name. And I'm going to need to change the color so that you can see that. One of the things that works great about this is just reminding your students that they have 3 minutes, because you will have the ones that like go crazy and want to change the font and play with all the things. So you just set a time box around however long you want to give them for this activity. But then what they need to do is they need to claim a slide, add their name, and then they're going to add one picture and one word that on their slide that represents whatever prompt you gave them. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to the slideshow in our chat, and we're going to do one. I already claimed slide 1, so sorry, you can't have that one. You can pick a different one, but claim a slide in our slideshow. And Sam, if you're still on your phone, no worries, you can watch along with us. But I know doing slides on your phone is probably a bit of a challenge. But then you're going to go ahead and insert an image and add a word. So I would like you to share with us what you are looking forward to for this weekend. So we're going to keep it quick, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then we're going to come back together and we're each going to share. Before I do that, what questions do we have?
A lot.
I know. Okay.
So I opened it up. I can't even figure out how to add my name. I'm trying to add it. I jumped onto slide 3, but you have to choose an empty slide. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, choose an empty slide.
Got it. Okay.
And they did something which is different than what I would do, which is I would have made name editable so that students could just click on it and type their name, but they didn't do that. So they're giving us an extra challenge. So you're going to have to add a text box to add your name.
So sorry. So I was already doing technology and I missed the prompt. So this is what happens to my students all throughout the day. So this is way too hard for my students. I already know, but I want to try it.
Okay. And I do want to share, like, it's going to be hiccupy the first couple times that you do it, and then they'll be familiar with it. So I feel hopeful that if you do try it with your students, you might have hiccups the first time, but they'll start, it'll be better each time that you do it. So
Sure, sure, yeah.
our prompt today is just, what are you looking forward to for the weekend? So one picture and one word. And I'm going to stop sharing my slide for a second.
I can't seem to find where to add the text box. I don't seem to have any sort of,
Toolbar.
yeah, toolbar. There's
Okay, so
nothing there.
this happens every now and again. And I'm going to share my screen to show where it might be hiding out. Okay, so my toolbar is here, but if
Mhm.
you don't see yours, it might be hidden. So it looks like, do you have anything that's like an arrow?
Nope. Let's see. No, I do not.
Do you want to share your screen with us so we can help troubleshoot?
Let's see. Now I can't even see y'all.
Yeah, Sam, it will be recorded. I'm sorry you're not feeling well.
Okay. Where did it go? Everything is gone now.
Okay.
Hold on, let me,
Okay.
I just think it's funny that like this is so hard right now. Like I can't even add my name. I don't know how to use the little scrolly thing.
I mean, of course, the thing that I said was going to be so easy is giving us trouble.
So here's my screen.
Okay. You're right.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know where my toolbar is.
What happens if you press refresh? Oh, press escape to show
Oh.
controls.
Okay, there it is. I just saw that. Okay.
Okay. And Cynthia, are you still having a hard time with the adding your
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you grabbed the line thing. Is that what you did? No, that wasn't it. I see. Yeah, I don't know what you grabbed to even put that next to your name.
Do you see
I just added a text box.
yeah, so there's a couple ways
The
you can do that.
TT.
Yeah, you can insert and then text box, or there's on the toolbar, there's a TT text box. But you're right, Melanie, I still don't see the
I'm
toolbar.
now I just added my name, but I can't find the color background thing. Can you still
Yeah.
see my screen?
We can, yeah. Your
can
toolbar is
stop sharing.
different.
Yeah, always.
Double click on your name, Melanie, and that'll highlight it.
Oh,
Oh, you added another text box.
yes, I did. Nope. Let's see.
Delete that one because that one's like another one. It's not where your name is.
Yeah. Let's see if that deletes it. Nope.
You could undo.
Oh, yes, my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, oops. Did that really do it? I don't know. I could see my name.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where is it? Oh, let's see if it's no. Well,
Oh, yeah. Okay, now press delete. Now that you're not like typing, you just have the thing selected, I think. Okay, Thanks, Sam.
Not that.
Oh, Cynthia, you added your name.
I did, but I'm have so many questions. Like,
Okay.
I'm curious, like, why the page doesn't match the number on the slide I'm on. Is that like
I think
on
that
another slide?
I think because before you give it to your students, you would delete slides 1 through 4 because those are like teacher direction
Okay.
ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then how do we get the images?
Okay. So if you go to the insert on your toolbar,
Uh-huh.
and then the very first one is image, and you can choose to upload from computer or search the web, or I also see GIFs and stickers, which is new. So that's fun.
Hmm. When I click on, can you hear me?
Yep.
When I click on insert and search the web, then I'm not getting what I think I should. Image,
Mm-hmm.
search the web, and then I have that nothing opens. Am I supposed to?
Insert. Let me see what happens when I do it
Oh.
so I can give you directions. I have mine on the right-hand side. There's now a tool, like a bar, a sidebar on the right-hand side
Oh,
that says
yep.
search in Google Images. Okay.
Okay, I see it.
I love that I'm going through this with you, Stephanie and Melanie, because I feel like Melanie and I are
Yes,
writing about the same.
Okay.
yeah.
And
Okay, let's
you
see.
know what? Maybe
Oh,
Thin Slides isn't the one. The HyperDocs are great. Google Drive organization, maybe Thin Slides, not so much. That's okay.
Cynthia, I just put a dance picture on your, I mean, a
A picture on
picture
my
on
dance
your
slide.
slide.
Why not? I could
No
dance at the beach.
siento.
I could dance at the beach, Melanie. I'm flexible.
Let's see. See, now it's gone. Okay, insert image.
Oh, fun. Cynthia, are you going to dance or to the
Yeah.
beach?
I'm dancing, but I
Okay.
dance at the beach.
Okay.
I'm flexible. That's what I meant. Like, I put the dance slide in, but Melanie
Okay, I did it.
threw
Okay. Okay, good. So in theory, your students would each get a slide. They'd each put a picture and a word. But here, okay, I'm gonna just take a moment to step back and think of all the digital skills that we just practiced. Okay. We mastered inserting text into slides. We figured out how to troubleshoot when our toolbar wasn't where we thought it was going to be, right? We changed the color of our font so that we could see it on top of the purple. And we also worked on inserting an image. Engine went above and beyond. We've got an animated image on Engine slide. So very quickly, in like 8 minutes, we just learned a whole bunch of new skills that are going to carry us forward, even if it was a little bit challenging. So I hope that you can see that there is value in doing this activity with your students. And then what you would do in the classroom is they would each take a turn. So either I would share my screen, or they could do a gallery walk, but each person would take a minute then 30 seconds just to quickly share their slide. So then that builds in the connection and sort of the talking piece too. As an adult, I actually tend to like this sort of as an icebreaker more than some of the other ones. I'm a little more introverted despite how you're seeing me today. So I like being able to like gather my thoughts and have an artifact that I'm talking to instead of just talking about something off the top of my head. And I think that that really helps scaffold for some students as well.
I
Okay.
appreciate that you were able to walk both of us through just, I mean, all that troubleshooting. I just need a Stephanie by my side all the time.
I'm with you, Melanie. I'm with you. Just
I
grab
don't
it.
think so. Just deep breaths is, yeah.
You know what helps me? I mean, this is just like a particular over 50 request, but that your cursor, if you're doing like tech training, for me, it's really hard to follow where your cursor is. Like I have this dorky cursor that I've made really big for my students because I have some visually impaired students and that kind of thing. But my like cursor is like a big purple hand or a big purple arrow. And I just noticed like, I'm like, where is she pointing? Like I'm looking at my screen trying to figure out where your cursor is.
Yeah, thank you. That's really good feedback. I used to have one of those custom cursors and then took it off. So I need to bring it back because those are fun also. There's like all different characters. So yes, okay. Thank you. I'll have one next time if you're coming to the AI session. Okay, I'm going to share my screen for the last little bit again. And I want to share with you something if you're EduProtocol's curious, then I just want to share that the creators of EduProtocols made this thing called Smart Start, which I just think is the best thing since sliced bread, which is like your first 4 days, if you're thinking about introducing EduProtocols and you want to use them to build community, all of your lessons are here and already done for you. So they've got different ideas for how you can use thin slides and do them 4 days in a row. They do recommend that like the more that your students practice and repeat the same EduProtocol, the more comfortable and familiar they'll be. I can guarantee that if we at the next time did a thin slides together, it would be quicker than it was today because you've already mastered so many new skills. But here's just some other examples of other EduProtocols that you can explore. Some of my favorites are Things That Rock. And that one looks like this. It's going to take a second to load, but it's basically a slides version of this or that. There's 2 different options on the screen. And then students have to like say yay or nay by moving a little red dot to a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So the question might be, how do you feel about lunchtime? And then we go to the next slide and each student can pull a little red dot based on how they feel about that thing. And then if you have time, you could have students sort of explain their opinion. So that could be a great sort of talking and thinking exercise before having something like an opinion writing task. There's also a Frayer model EduProtocol that has a slide that has a Frayer model on it, and then you can use it to sort of have students recap what they know about something. So a great way to use it to build community is to Frayer a friend at the beginning of the year. Are you familiar with the Frayer graphic organizer? Okay, let me click into it then, so that you can have a visual for what I'm talking about. Basically at the middle is the name of the thing, and then there's some different questions that you have to answer about that thing. So for a friend, we would put the friend's name in the middle, then you need to talk to the person and then figure out how you're going to describe them. You describe their dream pet, 4 things they like, 4 things they do not like. But then you can extend this into content area concepts. So you could have something like addition, and the student needs to describe addition. They need to describe how they would use addition, 4 things that addition can do, 4 things addition can't do. So this is just a graphic organizer that you can use to think through different topics. Okay, there are lots of resources out there. You don't have to do it alone. One thing, a couple things I want to plug is, again, linking back to Eric Kurtz's resources. He was that person that I shared sort of near to the beginning, where he's done a lot of work sort of breaking down all the different Google tools. So that links to his resources. Google has also done a really great job of collecting resources to support learning about their Google tools as well. And they have one that's geared towards adults and one that works really well and is geared towards students. So the Workspace Learning Center is one that is geared for adults, and Google has created all of their own tutorials and like guided lessons and asynchronous learning. And I love because you can browse by product. So say, for example, you wanted to learn more about Google Calendar. In Google's learning space, you click on Calendar, and they've got all of these different resources for you on Google Calendar. They've got quick start guides, cheat sheets, productivity guides, and more. But if you're looking how to, or thinking about how you could sort of support your students in building digital skills, they've done that as well. So they have a series called Google's Applied Digital Skills Lessons. And what I really like about them is that they're project based. So what we did today with Thin Slides was sort of slipping in those digital skills in with the cheese sauce, right? Like we were doing an activity, but in that activity, we were learning all these tech skills built in. That is how Google has designed their applied digital skills lessons. So when you first go in, you have to sort of enter some information about yourself. I'm going to go ahead and click start now. I apologize. I thought I had done this before, but it's asking me to do it again. And then once you get in, you can browse the curriculum, and they have a whole bunch of different lessons. So I like the Google Workspace training. There's a collection of 10 lessons. And they've put everything together. So like you can teach your students how to use Google Docs, how to use Google Drive. They also have some more project-based lessons that are like create a sales pitch for your business. And it walks students through creating a Google slideshow and then also learning skills that they can apply sort of outside of the classroom. So they're building in their entrepreneurship skills at the same time that they're building their digital skills. This is like an oldie but a goodie. I've been using this for so long, and they keep refreshing and adding new things. They just added a series on AI. I just love applied digital skills so much, so highly recommend. If you want something else, I've also linked this spreadsheet that I cannot take credit for. It is a bunch of sort of people that are in the same position as myself. They all crowdsourced their tutorials for all of the different Google things. So there's a bunch of tutorials on Google Sheets, on slides, and they're skills based, right? So they're broken down into little bite-sized things that you can do with those tools. And they have a place where you can also access student and parent tutorials. So if you wanted to share something with your students or with families who are using some of the tools that you're using in your classroom, this sort of helps them get up and running. I like the learning to use a Chromebook. I think it's helpful to share that with parents as well, because Chromebooks can be different from other devices that you might be familiar with. So sometimes it's helpful just to share that with parents. Okay, that's it. I want to say thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me. I really appreciate it. I'll be leading the session 2 on AI on September 26th. And I'm really excited for that one. I'll be sharing some of my favorite tools for using AI to work smarter, not harder. So I hope to see you there. If you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. I will, of course, be getting a new cursor by the next time that you see me. But
That's just the over 50 crowd for me.
Yeah. I'll drop a link in the chat to the feedback form, and I'm going to stay on a few more moments if you have any questions, but I just want to say thank you so much. That was really fun. I enjoyed spending time with you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Stephanie. It was really
Thank
nice that
you,
it was a
Steph.
small group, you know,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
helpful
Super.
for, you know, we were really able to dive deep. I like that. Thank you.